Okay, so we are getting to the part where we're going to start doing the roof. We've done our foundation and basement wall. We've done our first floor wall. We're at the point where we're about to do the jog out on the second floor, but we've done the structure there. So what I think we should keep doing right now is press on with the structure. We'll worry about how to clad that detail at the end of class. And once we have the structure and that detail in place, at least to the point where you can see how the cladding comes onto the wall and the insulation comes on the wall, I trust from there on, the rest of the tools you'll need to finish drawing stuff, you already have. You might have to hatch a little bit here and there or add a block here and there, but more or less you'll have the tools you need. You know how to offset lines, you know how to add you know how to add little bits of structure and material if you need to. From there on, that will probably take us most of the lesson. From there on, the next lesson, we'll focus on adding the dimensions and notes. So this kind of stuff can take a bit of time. I'll show you how to add these notes, how to point to certain things, how to change the pointing tools. So sometimes it's a dot if you're pointing to something, sometimes it's just a line through it. We don't have it here, but it's a line through it and it kind of lists like a sandwich all the layers in it. There's dimensions, then there's datum lines. We don't have any on this drawing, but we should. We don't have them here either, but we should. So each of these lines should have a little bubble that says how high above the soil you are, above the grade you are. So we'll add those, they're called datum lines or elevation lines. I'll show you how to add those, and then we'll start to put in the breaks and stuff like that. And, first we'll start to set up our page, then we'll see how much too big the drawing is to fit on the page, and based on that, we'll add breaks and start to condense it down a little bit so that it's ready for printing. Okay? So we're getting close to finishing the drawing. We should be able to do the hard part of the drawing by today. So this is the ground floor. That's the floor, the ceiling of the ground floor or the floor of the second floor, and then the wall comes up from there. And so here, if we zoom in, from the plywood on this floor, it says 2440 to something above. And so I think it's referring to the third page. Yep, it says 2440 to the same thing below. So it's telling us to the surface of the drywall at the second floor, underneath the ceiling, is 2440. So we're going to start by coming back to here. This is our plywood, our subfloor on the second floor. And I'm going to hit offset. And I'm going to go 2440 and offset from here up to here. Now that just gives me the bottom of the drywall as shown in the diagram. It just gets into here. Excuse me.
Did that again?
Sure, the offset? Okay. So we'll undo what we did. Okay, so we have the subfloor, the plywood, on the second floor here. That's this line. Oops, that's this line. So I'm going to click escape. I'm going to hit offset 2440, enter. Pick that line and offset it above. Now, since that's the bottom of the drywall, I need to offset how much more to get to the top of the drywall. Anyone know how much to get right there? There's two ways to find it. We're going to look at the dimension. Hopefully this is where you guys at 16. Or it should tell us gypsum drywall, and it doesn't give us the dimension. So right here, 60 inches. 16 gypsum drywall. Let's offset 16. Now I'd like to make this a nice square corner without this line projecting. So I can start trimming it. Or like last time, we can use the fillet tool. Yeah, question?
What was the This one's from this.
So I'm going to go over here. It's this little arc shaped tool called fillet. And click on that and then just follow the prompts at the bottom. So click. And down here, we're going to click radius. We want the radius to be 0 because we don't want there to be any arc between the two lines. So a sharp angle, and that's it. We click both lines. Now we got a few, the roof gets a little bit tricky. It's kind of simple if you think about it. There's a slope to it. It gives us the slope right here. So for every 3 units forward, it's 1 unit down. So 3 units this way is 1 unit down. That's what defines the slope. In architecture, that's how they'll talk about a roof slope. They'll say 3 to 1, 5 to 2, whatever, some kind of number. They might say 12 to 4, but based on fractions, you can always reduce it in that case. So 3 to 1, which basically means for every 3 units horizontally, it goes 1 unit down or 1 unit up, however you want to conceptualize it. So we know the slope. We know, if we read the notes, these are 380 by 38 by 140 ceiling joists. So we know this is 140 millimeters. But we don't really know where the heck the start point of this line is. It's not quite here. It's not really lining up with that corner, and that's not how construction works. It doesn't have to necessarily line up with that corner. So we need to do, the smartest thing to do, I think, would be for us to work from this end. So we basically offset our way out to get to, so from here, the wood framing, to the beginning of the fascia. So this board is called a fascia. I hope you refer to it as fascia. Yes, they do. This is the soffit. We talked about that in class today. That has the perforations to let air flow through and equalize pressure. So we know that it's 460 to get to the fascia. They tell us the fascia is 19 millimeters wide. Then we need to find the height of it to get right to there. Not quite sure how we do it. Maybe we'll figure it out as we're drawing, but we need to get to there, I think. That seems to be the logical point. And from there we draw a line. Doesn't matter how long it is. It goes 3 forward and 1 up. And we just extend it. We eyeball it the same way we eyeball how far the floors go when we just arbitrarily cut them off. And once we have that slope, we can start to offset this and build up the shingles and everything else. There's no real dimensions to the shingles. It's just you want it to look like shingles, so that it's clear. And then from there it becomes quite easy. It's just an offset game, which we will get quite quickly. So I forget exactly how to get to that corner, but we'll work through it together, okay? So we have our wall up to our edge of our framing. So we know where our wood studs end. So from there we're going to offset out 460. And we're going to draw a rectangle that's 19 by 184. We don't know where we're going to put that rectangle yet, but we know that we need that width. So I'm going to click offset 460, enter. And then I'm going to make a rectangle at -19 by 184. So somewhere here is my fascia. I'm just going to grab a Kleenex. I'll be right back. So that is 19 by 184. I don't see in this drawing how we can determine exactly where this is. Some piece of this would have to have a dimension. It either goes from this line or from the bottom, and they don't give it to us, so I'm gonna,
The thing is, you can like draw the thing and then bring it down.
from here, you mean that one?
Yeah.
So this gives us the distance horizontally, but we don't quite know vertically where this line is.
Oh, that's normally like 40 degrees, I think. When you're doing like a heat proof, it's like 40 degrees.
Well, this one is gonna be 33 degrees.
Because of the
It's 3-in-1 slope, but we don't quite know, I mean, we could guess and say, okay, fine, this diagonal line touches exactly where these studs end. It's probably how they would do it, they would notch a piece of it out and sitting on it. You could do it that way, but it should have a note telling us that. So if we have to, we can guess. But otherwise, they don't really give us any dimension vertically, positioning it from this reference line. They don't give us a dimension from the bottom either. So I'm gonna try and see in the manual if it gives us any information. And I'm bringing this up to kind of show, see, I'm not sure what to do here either, but I'll show you how I'll try to find the answer, and maybe if you guys get stuck in that way, then you'll kind of have recourse as to what to do as well. So drafting and detailing manual, let's grab that. So they were telling us to look around B11, B19. I think that's where it started. So I'm going to just kind of fast forward down to there and see if they give us any more wall section information. Not quite here. Doesn't give us anything. Fascia. Varies. Okay, so far nothing. This is not what we want. Okay, I'm going to try going a bit faster. So these may be useful. If they give us a building section, that would tell us quite a bit. West elevation, top plate, not quite.
you might have to do like where the plywood is first, and then finish up after. Then we'll fit.
Do you have a way of getting to the corner?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. So here it is. So how would we get
Like you draw the plywood first, and then you move the fascia.
this one? You mean this?
That one.
Or this? Horizontal one?
So you do this. This one.
Mhm. Sure, but how does it tell us what height? Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. It should tell us. I mean, okay, let's say we're gonna look for it for 2 more minutes. If we can't, we'll take a guess. We can, but we need a reference point of where to do it from. We could also try finding the ridge of the roof, where the center of the house is, and extrapolating from there. But that's more work than we should have to do. That doesn't make sense. So here we have an interesting detail. This is just a random detail of the house. I think they're describing the garage here, so it's not really the part of the roof we're working on, but the detail will very likely be the same. We would make the same type of soffit detail for both, most likely. So here what they're saying is from the top plate. We know where the top plate is, right? We know where the 2 double plates on top of our wall are. They're saying 9 and 3/4 inches down is the bottom of the soffit. Now that would do it for us. Because the drawing doesn't give us that information, and because it doesn't really matter that much where exactly we draw this, it's more about you guys understanding how the parts come together. I'm going to go with this distance in this class. I'll check for the rest of the drawings after to see if there's a more correct answer. If there is, I'll update you, but it probably won't be much different. So, for this class and for all the marking I'm going to do and everything, let's assume it's this number, okay? 9 and 3/4 inches, but we're drawing in millimeters. Does anyone know how we can convert that? How many millimeters is 9 and 3/4 inches?
9 and 3/4.
Yep. You can round it to the closest millimeter. I'm just giving you a preview of what it's like to work with Canadian construction. Sometimes you're going to get things in millimeters, sometimes you're going to get stuff in inches, and we'll just kind of expect you to work fluently. Yep.
16 years, millimeters?
Yeah.
244.
248. So what did you multiply by 25?
Yeah.
So 25.4 is the real distance. 25 will get you close. But just so I don't teach you the wrong thing. I'm not trying to be uptight, but just so I want to make sure I give you the right numbers. So 25.4 times 9.75 gets you 247.65. You can round it up to 248. Okay, so enough talking about it. Oh, we don't actually have our double plate up top. So I'm going to quickly copy this. We know where it should go, so we don't have to do too much work. And I'm going to move these guys up here. There. And I messed up. They're not really lined up. So I have to move them one more time. There we go. So now I'm going to do this a different color so it doesn't get confusing. You don't have to do it a different color though. But really from here, what they were telling us, we need to go down. Okay, 248. And that is the bottom of our soffit.
Could you try again?
Yeah, so you can guess very much that if you assume it touches in a really nice way. But it doesn't exactly. And if it did touch there, they should give us a note saying that this is not at this point, or they should give us a dimension or something, and they don't. So you're not wrong. I mean, I wouldn't work too wrong if you can do it that way. But it's probably not exactly right. A little bit off, yeah. Okay, we're out of the woods. We know how to, we have all the information we need to finish this now. We still have to do a little bit of understanding of how to offset stuff. So, we know that from here to the bottom of the soffit, we are assuming is 248. So we've already offset that line. But now we don't know what this little distance from here to here. So we don't necessarily have to. What we can do now is we can strike our line for the bottom of the soffit. We know it's whatever the distance from here to here is 460. So from there back is the soffit at 248. This will give us the thickness, hopefully, tongue and groove, cedar. Oh, what a great note. How wide is it? I'm guessing 19 millimeters. It's probably going to be 3/4. (8 foot? No. Okay. Holy smokes. Fascia board. So they give us a whole bunch of different thicknesses. Okay, tongue and groove cedar board, something exterior type plywood soffit. Okay, we're just gonna. That's it. We're gonna guess. So, yeah. Okay.
But so we'll draw it in the combination of smooth and
So we're gonna guess 19 millimeters. But they don't give us the info, so we're just gonna go with it. So I'm gonna switch this line back to what we were drawing on before. Offset 19 millimeters. Okay, and we know, I'm gonna type trim. We know that it goes this far because this is 460 millimeters. And it ends up here. So basically this is, I think, 248 down, 460 from the inside here to here, and it's 19 millimeters thick. I'll quickly, I'll throw on some dimensions right now. You don't have to throw the dimensions on, I'm just gonna put them in there to try to help. Let me see if I can do this. Nope. Does that help? From here to here is 19. The bottom of the rectangle it's in line with here is 248. Okay, is that going okay? Is everyone able to draw this? Oh, look, this is just the dimension, you don't have to draw this. So
Yeah.
everything in blue, just ignore it, those are just dimensions.
That is happening on the screen.
Which, between
The red line and the first white line.
here?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do the math and find out, so it's 248 minus 19. But you might be better off just offsetting 248 down, and then offset 19 up. I mean, it's up to you, if you can do the math between your hand, you can. Does that work out for everybody? Yeah? Yeah, I'll leave the dimensions there, just so if anyone needs to catch up. Okay. Sorry, I'll turn this off. So, we have our fascia, it has a little screen vent here. We're gonna worry about that later. Right now we're just gonna treat it as one big board. And then from there, at the very end of it, we know we have a piece of wood. 38 by, that has to say 140. There's no way that's 1,401. I think that just is some kind of a glitch. So 38 by 140. So we're gonna grab, oops, we're gonna go to here, rectangle at 38 by 140. Okay, and now we should be able to throw our fascia board on, because it looks like our fascia board lines up with the top of that blocking, which would make sense. And it extends down as far as it needs to go. So here we don't really need a measurement. Here I'm just going to move these guys out of the way a little bit. And now we can grab our fascia board and we move it to line up with that. Just trying to find you a photo of how this would happen in real life. So here on our diagram, whoops, wrong diagram. There we go. Just to give you like a bigger idea of where we are. So we're cutting through a wall, okay? We're slicing through it. And so the roof is basically going like this. And so we have the roof rack. So you guys are all comfortable with what that is. So this is one of the roof rack looking at it from the side. We use two diagonal lines. This is the roof rafter. This is the roof where the ceiling goes. And so these two things, along with the third diagonal piece on the other side of the roof, make those roof triangles. Some of you guys may have gotten to that point in your model already where you're making those triangles of the roof. If you haven't, it's okay, but I'm assuming you've seen it on the example. So that's where we're at. And so those triangles overhang over the side of the wall of it, so that we can do this fascia soffit thing. And as those roof rafters end, they are cut so that they are vertical. They're cut so that this is a perfect vertical line. And then the fascia gets slapped right onto that. So you can see that in these series of photos here. It's not bad. See here, you can see them cut. And over here, you can see a diagram. That's the edge of the roof rafter that we're looking at. It's sliced. And this board goes bang right onto the side of it. The reason I'm trying to describe this in more detail is because we need to make a decision. It's a small decision, but we need to be accurate about it. I think the drawing is a little bit off here. See, if this is a perfect vertical, then, and this is step onto it, this line should continue a little bit further up. And the plywood attaches to the roof rafter. It doesn't really attach to the fascia. Now, once this roof rafter ends, and the plywood is on there, it can keep going a little bit. In fact, it should, so that it covers that fascia board. It should go a few millimeters past it, and then the shingles go a little bit past that. So the drawing is okay, but here it gives the impression that this plywood is somehow anchoring into this board here and the fascia. It's not. The plywood is anchored only to the ceiling joist, so to the roof rafter. Okay? Does that make sense? So I think that's the way we should draw it, and it'll make more sense for us then. So, sorry, last thing. What they seem to be showing is that this plywood basically touches right at the very edge of this, either the fascia or this header, of that board there, the rafter header. It's not really clear where it happens. So because we're drawing a section, we're just going to guess it. We're going to say that it goes right to the edge of the rafter. Okay, that's where we're going to start our triangle from. The correct way to do this, by the way, see if we started here, here, or here, it's going to change the height of the roof by a few millimeters. And that's going to, it doesn't matter in the real world so much, but it's going to mess up all the other trades in they're working. So the correct way to do it is they would give us the peak of the house, the tallest point, and the slope, and we would go from there. But we don't have that in this line. So we're going to basically make it from the corner. We're going to spring our line right from the edge of the fascia. And this is what I mean. I'll show you in a second. I'm going to delete this to get it out of the way. Line. And so here, now we need a line that basically starts to form that triangle. Now we know that triangle for every 3 forward, we go 1 up. But if I type in at 3, 1, it's going to be a tiny, tiny line. So I'm going to make it 100 times bigger. So I'm going to type at, so shift 2, at 300, 100. And that's going to give me the correct slope. And now what I can do, I'm going to kind of zoom out, strike a line, say this is as far as I'm going to show in my wall section. And I can type extend and just click that line. And that's the bottom, that's basically my roof rafter right there. the top of it. Do it again? Sure. Okay, so I'm going to grab a line, I'm going to click the edge of the fascia, and I'm going to type at 300, comma 100. And I'm going to come out here. And this is kind of arbitrary. I'm just picking a line with the furthest line that I made for my floor. And now I'm going to type extend. Click this line, extend it. And while I'm there, I can extend my other lines too, just to make it look nice. So what we've drawn, now we have this line, the bottom of the plywood, which is at the same time, in other words, it is the top of the roof rack. So, let's draw, I think we should stick to, we've kind of done structure first, so let's get that out of the way. So let's offset 140 down. So let's confirm roof rafter, no, that's this. So let's confirm the size of the roof rafter. I believe it's 140, but let's check. So asphalt shingles on 10mm plywood sheeting, so that's 3/8" plywood sheeting, really thin, in my opinion. On 38 by 140 rafters at 400 on center. So the rafters are 140 millimeters deep. And we can say offset 140 to there. And now we can clean this up a little bit. So we can extend, I think we can, if you want, we can kind of draw it, what in my opinion would be a little bit more correct. So we show that the rafter is cut off here. And we trim this part here as well. Okay, does that make sense? The piece of wood, just like in that photo, comes down, it's cut vertically, and then this part slaps right on top of it.
Also go for
Yep, yep. Now, we added that little line here to show that the joist ends. We added a little line right there, which is good. Now we need to offset 10 more millimeters for that plywood thickness. That plywood carries right to the edge of the saw. We're going to extend that line anyway, but I just wanted to draw it correctly so you can picture or visualize what it actually looks like. So just so I have something to extend to, you know what, actually I know it's going to finish, so it's okay. I'm just going to type extend. What's going on here? Extend and offset 10 millimeters. And then close that up. That's the plywood. Oops. Not quite where I wanted it to go. Okay. Bless you. And now I have my roof rafter. Everyone okay with that so far? At least understand it. It's all being filmed, so we can all put it. It's all going to be on YouTube after this class. So we have this rafter. Hopefully you're close. We're going to draw a little bit more, than I'll go and check on everyone to make sure they're okay. Now the next thing I think we should do is offset from here up 140 because that's our ceiling joist. And then we can kind of show how those connect together and clean this corner up a little bit. and we'll have the edge of the house finished. So I'm going to say offset 140 and offset this line up. Now it's getting kind of messy here, so I'm going to just see how they drew it. So they cut this diagonal line that we have cut into the wall. They trimmed it in the insulation, sure, okay, and the drywall. So we can clean that up later. We're going to cut it here right now. So we'll cut it at the edge of the wood structure, and we'll show it continuing at the beginning of the ceiling joist. So really what they would have cut is they'll cut this piece out of the wood so it can sit on top of the wall. When you're making your models, you'll see that. And then they show a dashed line to indicate how they overlap. Okay. So I'm just going to type in trim and clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to start off trimming from here. And I may have to zoom in a bit to make sure I do this clean. There's a lot of little line segments to get, but I would say take your time on that one. Okay, and now I would also clean up. I'm going to type in trim, and I'm just going to trim this whole piece off right now because we need to draw a second line to make it a dashed line. So what they do in here is they draw, from here it's a dashed line. From here it looks like it's offset maybe 10 millimeters, we're going to guess. And it comes up to me there. So this, and this is going to be dashed. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to offset, just to give myself a guide, I'm going to offset this by 10 millimeters in. And now I'm going to take, instead of a regular line, I'm going to grab a polyline. Okay, I'll draw it a different color so it's easier for you guys to see where I'm going with it. I'm going to grab this polyline tool. I'm going to go from here to this intersection. In fact, I'm not sure I should have grabbed it. Yeah, maybe polyline is fine. I'm going to kind of try to project from here. Will it do it for me? Yes. Click there. And click there. Now I'm going to delete that guideline that I had. I can delete this line so it's not confusing. And now for this line I want to make it dashed. So I'm going to click it, right click, properties. Line type, I'm going to switch it, dashed to, sure. So it overlaps like that. The last thing we have to do is just draw a little bit of blocking in here. We'll add Maybe at the same time we'll layer this out a little bit so we can get the cladding on the outside of the wall. And that'll set us up for the last thing, which is to get that jog in the wall from the first floor to the second floor. And we're pretty much done. We've done all the difficult drawing. So, you guys roughly okay? Are you understanding where we are to get to this point? Did I lose everyone? Kind of. Sorry? Okay, we still have quite a bit of time in this class, so I think what I'll do is I'll push forward for another 10 minutes so we get the content in the YouTube video. I'll save it, upload it, and then I can go around and individually help people out to catch them up where they need. So, we have most of the structure up here done. I'm just going to start offsetting out from here out in order to be able to do this bit of blocking here. And then at the same time, that'll let me do the insulation up top. So I need some notes on what kind of insulation this is. Minimum 12 insulation in our place. You can probably assume it's 25 millimeters, the same as it was lower down. So I'm going to go to the previous drawing. It'll probably give it to me there. So it gives it to me right here, the layering of material. So 25 insulation on something type plywood. Onion roof cedar siding on something like plywood. So you can't see the logo very clearly, but you can probably guess the plywood is ½ inch. So we'll just basically go with whatever the plywood below is. I think it was ½ inch. Oh, we didn't have plywood here. Okay. So we're gonna go with ½ inch. That's what would make sense. So anyway, so I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna start offsetting 25 millimeters for the insulation. Plywood, 12 millimeters for plywood. And then tongue and groove siding, we're going to assume it's 3/4 inch, same as our soffit. So offset 12 for the plywood. And 19 for the tongue and groove siding. Back to our last detail here. So we know where the outside of the siding intersects with the bottom of the soffit. It looks really messy right now in our drawing because we have a lot of lines there, but we know this. So because I know that, I can drop this block into there. It should be 38 by 89, I'm assuming, but it'll tell us, yeah, 38 by 89. So I'm going to go in here, grab a rectangle, and go at -38 by 89. Maybe I should change back to my correct layer. And then I believe they just show a dashed line across. and a little wood nailer, looks like it's a 2x2. So a line across. Now I don't want to go through the hassle of finding my line type again like I did with my dashed line up here. So I'm just going to click match properties, match to this, and do it there. Now this looks like a 2x2, so that's going to be 38 by 38. So somewhere down here I have a 38 by 38. That didn't work. And it doesn't give us the distance. It should be from the side here. But it looks like it's about the width of the piece of wood. So I'm just going to offset it by 38 and assume it's correct.
It's on the channel.
Yep, it will be. We have our materials set up to here. We can cut off our tongue and groove plywood siding and the plywood at the level of the nailer. Like so. Sorry, we want only these two cut off, like that. Okay. And the insulation should actually carry through. So once you kind of start to clean up the intersecting lines, it gets a little clearer. So the tongue and groove siding will come up to here. Plywood 12mm comes up to here. This is the insulation. Once you put hatching on it, it'll be even clear. It's going to come up.
What's the answer?
For which one? 25 for insulation, 12 for plywood, 19 for the siding. And then from here, we're going to check the drawing. It gives this 25mm gap from here to here. And then we know how far the insulation is going to be away from the plywood. So here it tells us 25mm gap, and they carry that insulation on a diagonal a little bit. So offset 25 and offset 25 once more for the thickness of the insulation. And now I can fillet it the way we did before. And we can just pick an arbitrary end to it. And that's a little bit difficult to make out. There's a lot of different materials overlapping in here, so it might make sense for us to start hatching them a little bit. So I'm just gonna start to do that, but I just want to make sure I do it right. So I'm going to draw myself a line down here. I'm going to extend the materials down, and now I can hatch. So hatch, And I'm not really gonna worry about the hatch type because we've already picked it and done the sizes and everything. So right now I just want to hatch the insulation layer to make it a little bit more clear. I know that's the wrong one, but I'm gonna take match properties and go down to this insulation layer that I already did and match it to this one. So now I know that's my insulation layer. I know that was a lot, but we're pretty much done at this point for the structure. We still have a little bit of insulation to play with here. We can deal with that later. We have some insulation in the walls. We can simply copy that over. These troughs, which you see right here, this pipe leading down, you can kind of eyeball that. They don't give you a lot of dimensions for it. So just make it look approximate. Usually it's about a 100 millimeter diameter pipe or rectangular pipe, 10 centimeters across. These can be any size, so just draw it and look correct. Otherwise, this is now complete. The structure there is done. And the last thing we need to do just to touch it up is we need to do this transition. Oops. Right here. And so all they're doing is if I go down here, they basically, as that second floor notches out, they're just carrying the rigid insulation, wrapping it around. They're extending the stuff we've already drawn, so the plywood and tongue-and-groove cedar siding down, just so it overlaps a little bit with the next brick. They deleted 2 or 3 bricks, just overlap it a little bit. And then the extra space in it, they just put something called wood blocking. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. So here, I'm just going to kind of overlap my brick a little bit like they did. I'm going to delete or shorten this line to here. Okay, I'm going to fill it. No, I don't want to fill it. I'm just going to trim from here to here. Extend that down. So now I can wrap my insulation nicely. This is my airspace that can go away. So just to show you what I did here, I'm going to click this and hatch it correctly to the insulation. I need it to churn a little bit, so I'm going to click on it, rotate it 90 degrees. Oops, maybe 45, I guess. There we go. That shortens. Okay, extend these 2 guys down here. Something is off with my bricks. I think I made a mistake with the bricks. If I draw a straight line, nope, they're fine. Okay. So I'm going to end, I have to make a little bit of a change here. The problem is if I carry my plywood down to be in line with my cedar siding, it's going to intersect with my brick. The reason for that is because we added a layer of plywood here that we didn't have in the drawing. That's correct, we should have that plywood there. So we have 2 choices. We can either delete an extra brick, and no, the best thing would be, I think, don't delete the brick, but end the plywood here, like that. And then here we're just going to put wood blocking in. So they have these pieces of wood here. connected by vertical pieces of wood. So I'm going to click here and say at 89 by 38. Oops, that didn't work. I'm going to copy that to touch the insulation, and then I'm just going to connect it with small vertical pieces of wood at 400 millimeters on center or something like that. And that's it. We can copy, if we want to, we can just simply copy this line, this insulation, from this wall to this wall, shorten it as needed, or actually it's the right length already, and we can slowly start adding detail in the form of hatching and notes and stuff like that to it. Okay, so we made a lot of small detailed pieces that we drew there, so I have a feeling I left a lot of people behind. So I'm going to save and stop here. I'll upload this. But as you can see, we've built the whole structure of the house now. So we need to fill in a little bit of hatching and detail along the way. We need to add some main lines that show the elevations. We need to add the soil so they can see where the grade is, where basically the ground from the outside is. Those are the main things in terms of dimensions. Let me zoom out a little bit. Sorry, let me show you the example. Not this one. And the student example that's provided under week 4 is okay, but it's not perfect. So if you go to lecture 4, here, there is a student example for a drawing. It's okay, it gives you some information, but I wouldn't say copy it exactly because it's not perfect. But our section now looks approximately something like this. This is pretty wrong up here, in my opinion. Ours is correct. But now the main things we need to add is there should be kind of a reference line that comes off of here that has a little bubble. I'll show you how to draw it next class. And it'll say the height, so 0, 0 or something like that. Then we'll have one for the second floor up to the subfloor. It will give the elevation of that. And then up to the bottom of the ceiling joist, it'll give the elevation of that. We'll show the ground level just like we've shown with a very thick line in it. And then all of the dimensions should kind of reference to those elevation lines. So if I want to dimension a floor to floor height, I go from one of those reference lines to the other. If I want to show how deep these joists are, I'll go through the reference line and dimension the plywood, dimension the joist, dimension the drywall. So everything is coming back to those. It's done from the dimension line as a series of dimensions down. Sorry, from the reference line. And that way you can kind of make sense of the drawing much more. Here you have a lot of dimensions, but a lot of them are just floating in space. I don't know what you're measuring. I don't know what this person is measuring to, right? Like here, I know that something from here that they're pointing to here is that distance apart, and something else is this distance apart. I don't know what it is, and I don't know how far that thing is from the next thing, which is kind of what you need to know. So I'll show you how to properly dimension a drawing. We'll start to add the notes. We'll fill in the rest of the hatch patterns, and that's about it. Then we'll set up our print to look kind of like this, with a table page block with number colors on it, and I'll show you how to PDF it into a nice drawing. But in terms of the actual technical part of understanding how the house comes together, we're there. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. I'll upload this, and I'll just go around and kind of try to unstick people if you're stuck on any part of it. Any questions on what we drew so far? Okay.
And the height of this one, so you have probably something like bottom of the legs. Close.
not the one directly to it, because it's not expected to be. So you have to, all the way, to start it up and everything. Okay.
140, so just a little bit up.
I found this stuff. It's certainly fun, but it's harder to get those. Once you get the bone this way, the rest of it's right. So sorry, but let me know if you have any questions based on
Thank you so much.
Dash? Let's do that. So we can put that over. One there. It's like a hate. You get it, right? I mean, right now, if you want the one that's a line. Maybe that, oh, right there, grass or something. Sure, let's go. Yeah, that's good. Let's do that. So angle change to, let's see what that takes us. Minus 4. No, so minus 4. Now scale 10 sounds right. Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah. Helpful. It's supposed to kind of be like a tooth pattern, but I mean, you got better, I think all of us have better history of handling like YouTube little things like that lined up. Yeah, and different offices will have different patterns. So the real advanced things will have to show how to use that essentially. Correct. Everywhere there's an installation. And it kind of churns with your elevation. So yeah, it's all churn insurance with the orientation, yeah, exactly. Okay, looks good. Yeah, you're fine. I think you're gonna want to have some dash lines, just the entrance will make some dash lines. Yeah, the little nail piece, the 2x2 in the corner, I would move it just like, yeah, a little bit, maybe like half its width more to the right, because that space between it, so it's this space here, so it's gonna be so what the difference? So here, here, should be space, and that's where it should be. This is how it's just. Yeah, and then later on. And then there's a note that says this guy will be. Yeah, exactly. So you just trim.
And then we'll trim this.
Yeah, I would just clean it up. Basically here, so you can add that dash line. And a little piece of wood here with an opening here, if you want. Or you can just continue with the installation. Show it there. Once you have those two things, you're pretty good. I just made it it doesn't tell us, so I made it 38 by 38. So the same width and height as the width of this.
Yeah.
If you want to other questions, yeah, no, it's good. If you think other questions for it, just something you understand. Yeah, yeah, they're complementary. I would, you have to know for
No.
I mind that. Yeah, I'm running it off right now, it's running off my computer. So there, mine is. It's not, I mean, it's not big, it's not connected. Yeah, but it might make sense to switch it. Not much. But you still have time with that. So we just have to. Are you okay?
Yeah. Mistakes go back. We do it all.
Yeah, and knowing this will. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I need to put at least, this, okay, so it's not this. Same with this stuff that's not in somebody.
Is it? Oh shit, I was gonna go from your desk. It's pretty close to me though.
I know, so much. I can see much longer.
Yeah. I need to stay.
That is.
Destroyed right
Like a late class.
there. No, I'm doing like a plumbing, like a transfer gas course. Overloading myself. And I was hoping it's not too much homework. That's easy. I've pretty much taken it before. I just don't have the license. Let me see you.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little bit like, yeah, so as far as what. There's a special material. They didn't